Welcome back everyone, and it's been a while since I've done one of these. There will be a UR version of at least top 10 every UR. There's so many URs now since I made my last UR tier list that I think I'm just gonna keep it top 10 at least. If you guys want it, ask for a full UR video. That's gonna take a while, but hey, if the demand is there, I will make it, but I think I will just stick with top 10 for now. This is for every single age unit, and for a disclaimer, we will only be doing normal versions and SP versions, not SSP. That will be its own separate video, but because SSP can completely change a unit and make them better than they are now. They're original versions, and sometimes it's a great effect or no effect at all, so I will make that a separate video, a lot shorter than this one. But without further ado, let's begin. There will be dupes and copies just because some units have SRs and SSR versions, so if you see the same image twice, that is why. And without further ado, let's start with a D tier, and that is these units. I forget their names just because they're, it's age. They have really funky units, and most of these units will be there for pretty much the same reason, and that's because they have either no tags at all, like the Gala. As you can see, it pretty much has only 2. That's it. It does not have a lot of tags, so they're all mostly going to follow the same pattern, so I won't talk too much about it, but that is my reasoning, or movement and terrain. And yeah, oops, well, whatever. D tier would be the Gala, short range, decent effect. This is the R version. I believe this is I think there's an SR version. Let me check real quick. Like I said, there's the same image, so you can't really check if they're, different or not. But yeah, they're basically the same unit, just with slightly different effects. Low range, decent terrain, but their tags are pretty much non-existent. So I did put them in D tier. You could argue they should be here, but is anyone going to use these units? Maybe just for Eternal Road, so they can just take hits. But that's pretty much them right there. Sorry about the loading. The Zeno, is that the SR or the normal version? Like I said, some of them have dupes and all that. This is the SR. Not a lot of tags, decent terrain, meh movement, not the best range. Physical weapon out 20% is pretty meh. Yeah, pretty meh all around. That is the Zeno. I don't even know the name of that. I think it's pronounced Des something. Let me check real quick. There is an SR in the normal version. Pretty much no tags, meh terrain. He would be boost to C tier if he at least had space, but he's only Earth and sea, ocean for some reason. So and very bad range, so that's why he is on bottom. He's probably just going to be a unit that dies. That's pretty much it. Guards and then dies for Eternal Road. And that is for the D tier. Pretty meh units. Obviously you're not going to use them unless you're like doing Eternal Road, and these are like punching bags. I'd just like to say though that pretty much every unit has its own use. The Japanese pretty much will grab any unit, free to play, gacha, whatever, and make them useful. I've seen plenty of Eternal Roads do that, so even if it's in the bottom tier, it has its uses. I think you can say about every suit in this game, so keep that in mind. Now it is the El Meta, I believe. I don't know why it takes so long to load. There's two versions, the SR and then the support version. R rarity. Not a lot of tags. Mid movement. Mid range. Pretty much the same with the Defender version. Defender is right here just because, you know, it can be a punching bag. So I think I'll put it like left to here better than worse as it goes along. So if you have any other objection about that, then let me know in the comments, but that's just my own opinion. Adel's the Defender, pretty much does what this does, but it has a better range attack, I believe. Like I said, I'm not gonna remember every single unit's kit. I only looked at them once and I was all like, well, it goes there on paper, but like I said, every unit kit has a use in its own way. I think the best thing about the age freebie units is that they're usually at least 2 to 4 range. So that's why most of them, oops, sorry, I burped, are in C tier. They're still usable. Like, most of them have 4 range. You're gonna see a lot of the same thing. But yeah, the Genis Custom, that's what it is, right? Yep, Genis Custom. It's just that they suffer a lot from tags. The only reason you're going to use this guy is in age or alternative series. It's pretty much it. White isn't really its own tag yet, so as Genis Custom, Genis Normal, pretty much the same story. The Adele Custom, I believe, it's a supporter 4 range. Where is it? It should be right here. Decent. It's pretty much the same thing. Again, rearm if you were lucky enough to get the ship. You should not be rolling first of all for the rearm ship. Decent, but no support effect. So meh. Again, very meh. But good range. Decent range for free to play movement and all that. These guys are pretty much the same thing. The Zillas, the SR and the normal version. Let me see. Zeli, I mean. Mid tags, not enough. Decent terrain. Sorry about that. But defense down 20 is alright, just that the range is a bit meh. Like I said, you're gonna see a lot of the same with these free-to-play units or these SR units. Decent movement, but pretty mid-range and all that. They're pretty just decent, that's it. They all do a lot of the same thing. And it's pretty much the same for the attacker version. You can argue the attacker version is a little bit better just because the Heat Hawk does decent damage, but then again, meh, there are way better options. So yeah, they are in C tier. Decent, meh, whatever units. Up next is the Shadow, or that one right here. Pretty much no tags at all, but decent terrain, 4 movement. The Dots gun is pretty good. Range 4, 4,200 attack, pretty decent. No effects though, so man, maybe you could put the Attacker Zilla up here, but like I said, I don't think it will make too much of a difference. So, and a pretty cool design that I didn't even know was in age. I do not remember anything about the series, so if it was in there, I do not remember. The Genix Fox Custom. Not a lot of tags. Mid terrain. It can at least be in the ocean. 4 movement, beam gun, rocket launcher, fox beam. You have options for 2 weapons, and that's pretty solid. But like I said, no effects or anything. But it seems solid on paper, so honestly, I think it's fine here. I think the Gafranes follow a pattern here, and that's a pretty good pattern. They usually all have 4 range and can transform. Their terrains are actually really good. Let's go to them real quick. And it's only a non too. Pretty decent tags. Not the best though. Actually no, they're horrible. What am I talking about? But because he's at least higher there, it's because his terrains are really good. Movement is only 4, but he can transform and make it 5. And he has a range 2 to 4 beam cannon. For a non-rarity, that's pretty decent and does decent damage. So yeah, that's why he's there. Like I said, he can also transform 2 and increase his range to 5. He may have very mid teams, but everything else seems solid for a non-rarity. That's pretty solid. Pretty much the same with his brothers and all that. They have range 4. And the Begito, like I said, the problem with these units is that their tags are pretty mid. They're pretty much the same. They all have 4 movement, can transform and then turn it to 5. He has a pretty solid, like I said, they're all basically the same unit, but they're pretty solid on paper. So if you want to argue that, you know, they should be higher, you could say that, but I think they're all pretty much the same unit with different colors, blue, red, support and all that. Pretty much all the same. This one does not have range 4. I think that's why I put him below these guys. He's basically a worse version of these guys, slightly, just because he has 1 less range. And then there's the Dagado, El Dagado, whatever its name is. Where is it? There it is, Dorado El. Pretty much same story, but he's a defender just like the other ones, so accuracy 10 down is pretty meh, but he has some decent abilities and all that. I should put him higher than him. Nah, they're pretty much the same unit. So Shadow R, this is the R version, not the SR version. They're pretty much the same thing, but here he is. This one is a support, decent range, decent terrain, no series, 4 movement, but he has 2 options he can use. Kind of redundant to make them both beam, other than the energy saving, but he will decently hit, I guess, but no effects hurt him, so that's why he's there. Basically just these guys, but slightly better. Then it is the like I said, you could interchange these guys, but I think they're all basically doing almost the same thing with no teams. So the Zaydos, tough as nails, he at least has something unlike the other ones. Black, vegan, good terrain, 5 movement, but he is a close ranger. Closer you are to the enemy, weapon power increase, he has attack up, and has range beam defense, so he's not bad. But he's probably the best out of the mid units for SRs at least, so he gets that achievement. And we'll be moving on from this shortly. He's kind of like the last mid free-to-play unit. Up here is when they can actually do stuff. So here is the Razor, and it's actually a Gacha unit. It's been out since the beginning of the game. It's an SSR, but when you read the kit, it has definitely aged, no pun intended. Good tags though, it has good tags, but I think the problem is its abilities and all that. Only range 4, free terrain, increased critical damage by 20%, but only 10% crit and low range. Leg mounted razor blade, again the same story. Honestly, the more I read, it's not too bad. Maybe I'll put him slightly higher. Not the worst, but he's definitely showing his age. Again, no pun intended. Honestly, do I want to put him here? I think here is fine. I think we'll put him here, yeah. Like I said, short range and all that. Mid terrain, but I think he can, there's just better options. So, meh. He's definitely showing his age. Again, no pun intended. We'll go with the SR age 1. He is a defender. Good tags, decent terrain. 4 movement though. He has beam saber, handgun, dodge rifle, which puts 20% down on the enemy with 4 range is not bad, and defense 5%. Solid enough, better than most of the mid units, but you know, he's alright. This is the what's the name of that thing? I think it's something really dumb. Also, he doesn't have attack down, he has mobility down, which is pretty meh. If he had attack down, he'd be higher, but eh. The diff first, and I think the main problem with this is it barely has any teams, only like 2 usable teams, and pretty mid terrain. 4 movement too, so meh. Decent attack, but I don't think it's worth it. Decent map attack. He has 3 to 4 range, high remaining HP. That beam hits pretty hard, but the problem is, again, this guy barely has any terrain or tags. So if he had better tags or terrain, he would be slightly higher, but I think here is fine enough. Attack 10%, 5 and all that. Like I said, could have been better, but on paper he's just meh. And then here is the age 1, I forget the name of it. What up? Sordia. Good tags, he's on ace unit, so maybe you could bump him higher, but he definitely showed his age, just like the Razor. He's been out since the beginning of the game, so definitely showing his age. Only 3 tags, 4 movement. Give me 1 second. Alright, we're back. It's been like 2 hours. Gundam Barbados Lupus and Gundam Hajiraboshi was announced for Battle Op 2. So, was watching the stream. Pretty hyped for that. They look pretty good. Kind of lost my train of thought here. What were we? Yeah. With the Sordia. Pretty good tags. It's just that its range are pretty meh, and no attack down, accuracy down 15 is pretty meh. Decent defense. It'll be a good decent defender unit, but I think there's just better out there. So there is the Sordia. We talked about the Razor already. Next will be the Forgia, which she's very good on paper. It's just that her terrain is awful, only spaced, and that's it. So you won't be getting much use of her other than Eternal Road and all that. So alternative series, test tie, lightning fast, only like 2 teams usable, and I guess alternative series. So really good defense actually for free to play. It's just that the problem is her terrain is awful. So, Forgia sword, accuracy down, decent range. Her best attack is, you could argue, you could put her a little bit higher because of this, but attack down 30% is pretty damn good for free to play. But like I said, the problem is her terrain is just awful. She has everything else good, movement 5, meh teams, but still, you know, decent enough. It's just that she has a lot of problems, but a lot of good stuff. It's just that she could have been better. But other than that, very good on paper. I can see her being used in Eternal Road. But other than that, I don't see much use for her at all. So, top of C, you could argue maybe bottom B, maybe. Just because her kit is decently well. It's just that her terrain is awful. I think I might keep her bottom B just because she can work, but the terrain, man, the terrain. Next is the Adel. I think that's the Adel custom. Let me check real quick. Adel Diva colors. Decent tags, unstoppable is alright, decent terrain. Only 4 movement though, which is meh. But its range is not bad. It's just one of those, you're gonna see a lot of this. 4 range, beam attacks, decent attack though for that, and attack 5%. So again, just another ordinary attacker with 4 range and all that. 4 range, I mean. Maybe you could move the Farsia maybe a little higher, but I don't think right here at all. Maybe to at least up here, but you know, I'll keep her bottom B just because the terrain is really bad on her. But she can be a really useful, you know what, I might put her here. Actually, here. This is the farthest I will put her. That's it. Maybe you could put her higher, I don't know. But next is, I believe that's, I don't know, they all look the same, to be honest, in age, but they all have different names. Generalist 2, one-shot killer, always a nice team to have. Age and all that, decent terrain, meh movement. Beam Saber, Dot's gun, pretty much the same as the other one, but it at least has defense down 20%, so you could argue it might have more, it's better than this, but basically the same unit, just different effects. Talked about the Farsia already. The GXs, I believe. GXs and G Bouncer are basically the same unit. They're both attackers. They both pretty much do the same thing, honestly. It's just the tags, lightning fast, decent terrain, 5 movement, Wolf Fang, 4,900. You're gonna see the same thing on the G Bouncer. A beam rifle, missile pods with 2 to 4 range, really solid. Higher mini HP is always nice. So, and then attack 5%. And then when you look at the G Bouncer, it's basically the same thing. G Bouncer, other than the tags, or are they? I'm not sure. But yeah, 5 movement, decent, same terrain, lightning fast. The Sinju blade is basically just the beam saber and all that wolf fang. And then the Dalt's rifle again. So again, they're basically almost the same unit, just that this one has critical damage with 10% crit chance. So you could argue it's slightly better than the other one. Other one is more ranged, while this one is more melee. But they're almost exactly the same unit, 5%. Next is the Zetas, I believe that's what they're called. It's like Zeta M, Zeta F. They have really good terrain and movement. Remember, they can transform, and when they do get 5, so keep that in mind for all of them. Unstoppable, decent tag. Beam Saber, Beam Cannon is a 4 effect with beam weapon up 20%. Not bad, not crazy, but the terrain and movement are really good, so that's why they're higher than the G Bouncer and all the other ones. You could argue maybe you could even put them higher, but I don't know. Which one were we looking at again? They all kind of look the same, the Zetas, just the different colors. This one's the Zeta M. Next one is the Zeta R. Also, never mind. I thought they were both on one-shot killer. This one is on one-shot killer. Good terrain. Only 4 movement. Less. No, wait. They have the same. It's because they can transform. Yeah. When they transform, they get 5. So technically 5 if you want to count that. Also a 2 to 4 range attack. Beam. Decrease beam weapon power by 20%. Solid enough. Like I said, they all are basically the same unit that do slightly different things. Next up is the Zeta, which is the attacker version of them. Lightning fast, same terrain, pretty good. Movement 4, but it can turn to 5. Zeta Sword, Beam Vulcan. Pretty much all the same beam, higher mini HP, could be more useful. Attack 5%, a little bit of damage reduction. I think he's the best out of the 3, so that's why I put him here. Next is the Shadow SR, I believe, the SR version, not the R version. Should be around here. This one is a gacha. I think it came out since like the beginning of the game, so you should have it. Its tags are pretty bad, terrain is pretty mid, movement 4 is pretty mid. It's just that it has a pretty decent mega launcher and Dot's gun attack. I guess you can like change it if you want, if you're like trying to save energy, but Mega Launcher actually does pretty good damage further away from the enemy. Greater weapon attack power with 4 range. It's not bad. It'll do decent maybe if you put like a good attacker on it, but you could argue the Zetas are better, but this guy will be doing more damage than them. Maybe not the Zetas are, but maybe Zeta is slightly better depending on the pilot. But if you're not full HP, no, I think the Shadow will be out damaging the Zeta, but just by a little bit, so I'll put him right here. You could argue he has better terrain and movement and all that, but if you want slightly more damage, I think this guy's gonna do better. You could interchange them, maybe I will just here. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Next is the Shadow Custom, which is just a Shadow, but you know, customized. And it is a support, tough as nails, always decent, mid-terrain, forward movement as usual with these free-to-play age. Dots gun again, but it also has the Mega Launcher this time, which is a 20% down, so you basically have 2 options. You would probably only be using the Mega Launcher though. Decent attack, so he has 2 options, 4 range and all that, so he's pretty decent. Like I said, maybe you could move up the Zetas, but I think these guys are at least on tough as nails, while the other Zetas. What team is the support one in? Support one is an unstoppable only, so it really just depends which team you're using. I guess tough as nails are unstoppable, but I usually use tough as nails more, so I'm going to put this guy slightly higher than the Zeta. And now it is the Gundam Age 1 Titus SSR, the freebie. He will do good damage, but the problem is his movement and his tension ability. He's on tough as nails, ace unit, decent terrain, so it's basically, he's decent, but the problem is very short range, because you know he's not a range unit. But he will hit decently hard, just that there's other units that do it better. He can use the Titus attack, which is only 1 to 3 range, but it does pretty good damage. 15% crit with a 20% chance, 20% critical damage up. Problem is you need to be max tension or greater. There's not a lot of age units, I believe, that can raise your tension up, so you basically have to waste. My cat was on the floor, sorry. But you basically have to waste a turn to even be able to use this. You want to use this right off the gate, that's more preferable. But when you do get him up, he will be a lot better. It's just that he needs not a lot of prep time, but you know what I mean. There are other units that will do this damage. Not as much, but only slightly lower and without the restriction. So kind of like the Razor, it's just that the Razor has, honestly, is the Razor better than it? Well, the Razor is a Gacha unit, so not a lot of people will have it, so you could argue that. And you see the Razor again, because they both kind of do the same thing. He's a one-shot killer ace unit. You could say he has slightly better teams. Yeah, it's his range that's the biggest problem. Only 1 to 2. Well, at least age 1 is 1 to 3. So I think he's just better Razor. But the problem is his tension. If you can get it to there, he will do good damage. But like I said, I just think there's better suits that will do that. Next up is the Age 1 SSR, the Gacha version. This guy's been out since the beginning of the game, so kind of dated, but not as much. Movement 4, decent terrain, decent tags. Beam Saber is only 1 range, so it's kind of meh. Beam weapons up 20%, and I feel like this is kind of redundant because his Dots rifle does the same thing. So this guy is purely beam damage taken, beam effector, you know. I'm losing my words here, but yeah, he's mostly focused on beam, so If you can't get the Dodge rifle for whatever reason, Beam Saber, which is only 20% beam. But his 30% beams is decent enough. It's just that there's other units that will do it better. But 4 range too, so he's decent. No attack buffs or anything though. He's alright. It's just that he's also a gacha unit, so not many people might have him or not. Next is the Artemis, and I'm seeing people like kind of glaze this thing, but I don't know. I read it on paper and it's just kind of like meh. Especially the terrains, like oh no, that's not that great at all. Again, I know Eternal World Age is mostly space, but other than that, I don't really see this guy being used. Specialized unit is alright, one-shot killer, pretty good team. 5 movement, he also has a transformation gimmick, but I feel like his attack stat is just kind of low for a support. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. He also has a map attack. I do not remember if it's a free grid or only a single line. It doesn't really show right here, but the defense 30 is really good. The problem is it's a map attack, so if you don't get that kill, or if he's not like in a good position, he can't use the map. So other than that, his attacks are pretty basic. Artemis Beam Saber is higher power than like almost as much as the long range rifle, even though this guy is supposed to be ranged. But 4 ranged, damage taken for B weapons 20% is decent, but there are better options. Heck, even the Age Gacha unit seems slightly better to me. Also, defense by 5% is just random, so he doesn't look that great to me. I see his uses. His ship mode is more compatible in atmospheric, so keep that in mind. I guess you can use him there if you need a debuffer for beam weapons. It's just not the best. I see the use, but I don't know. I think there's just better units that do his job better, but a decent free-to-play option. Next up is, let's go back. Next up is the Zyphos, however you want to pronounce it. Zyphos is a free-to-play unit as well. You can get it from Fierce Enemy Assault. Not the best tags other than Unstoppable. Decent terrain, 5 movement, solid enough. He does have some pretty good gimmicks. Range 1 to 2, high output heat sword, defense down 25% is good, and then his 3 to 4 range dots buster is beam weapons 25%. So he's pretty solid on both. So if he can't use his dots, he can use his high output heat sword, so you can play him as a melee or as a long ranger, depends on your situation. He's very solid. Like, he's more solid than the other ones, I would say, than the Artemis. He also has his 10% attack, and vigor is higher, increase own movement by 1, so arguably he could get 6 movement. That's very solid. So yeah, I think he's just better than the Artemis. Less grindy too. Yeah, in my eyes, he's like way better. Yeah, very solid, very useful. Honestly, I kind of want to put him like bottom A now that I read him a little bit more. Do I? Yeah, I think I'll put him bottom A. I think he's very solid for the Age team if you don't have the other support units that I'll talk about. Next up is the Age 1 Spero. And this is a free-to-play SSR supporter. Never, this feels like loading. I don't know why it takes so long. Here he is. Decent attack. Good tags, lightning fast ace unit. Good terrain. 5 movement. Decent terrain, I mean. He has a Shiguru blade, which does pretty good damage. The Spalo, which is his you do need to be tension max or greater, but because he is a support unit, you'll slap a support unit on him, which will help him get his tension higher, so that's pretty nice. Physical weapons, they also get debuffed, and it does really good damage for a supporter unit. He also has a needle gun to help him get there, which also inflicts defense down 25%. So he's basically, if he needs to help his allies with physical weapons, he can do that when he gets his tension up by using the needle gun, which throws 25% damage, taken from that. So it's pretty solid. If you really want to SP him, it would also help. It's basically without the tension requirement, so they basically do the same thing. So that is, there is that. He also has 15% attack up, which is really good. If his hip is 75, obviously you don't want to keep him on the front lines. As long as he doesn't get hit, he'll be really good. He'll get that 15% buff, and overall I see him as very solid. You could argue his range is meh, but because he has a needle gun, I think it counterbalances that. Seems very solid on paper. Good terrain, decent terrain I mean, good tags and good movement. Very solid. Next up is the Gacha unit, the Adel Striker. Honestly, I might move the Sparrow higher than it, but we'll talk about it first. Now that I've read the Sparrow, Spallo again. I don't know why I keep calling it Sparrow. I think the only reason I put it higher was because it does come with a pilot, and that is Arisa Gun Ho. Unstoppable, mass-produced, decent tags, not the greatest, decent terrain, 5 movement, really high attack for a battery. I guess because it's a battery and it has decent attack. Problem is, it only has 1 weapon, but it does good damage. So, closely guard the enemy, which you want to be up to 15%. That's really good. Problem is, its tags are just kind of meh. Its pilot is definitely what you want to aim for. She has double chance step, which is also very nice. High melee damage, pretty high enough. Problem is, she doesn't really have a attack power up, not by 15% or 20%. It might hurt her in the long run, but burp. Anyway, she has her passives which help her kind of sustain that, but honestly I would have preferred an attack power up along with high speed. That would have made her really solid. She also has, again, a double chance step, but it does need to be Earth Federation Forces age. Unfortunately, there is another suit I think she'd be really good for other than her Adel Striker, but she doesn't match with it at all. But yeah, there's a Gacha unit. Decent. It's a gimmick suit, 1 to 3 range melee. It will do decent damage if it's higher duped up, but without dupes I don't see it doing much damage and all that, so keep that in mind. But yeah, solid enough. It's just that the pilot is really good for age teams. Next up is the Zadra. Let me go back here real quick. It is an attacker, 1-shot killer is nice. Commander type, I believe that's a free-to-play ship, so decent. Rival is also decent. Good terrain, good movement, good attack. Hydro gun melee, pretty good damage. Hydro gun range, decent damage. Range is decent. The kick, you need to be tension or higher, but I don't really like the lower your remaining HP is gimmick. I never like that because sometimes units might get one-shotted, but he does have a beam buster which does really good range. So the further you are from the enemy, greater weapon increase up to 12%. So I guess you can use the beam buster to get your tension up, and then you can start kicking people to get your max damage. It's basically the Sparrow and the Age 1, same kind of gimmick. You need your tension to get your best attack. I just think he's better than the Age 1 because he has not better tags, but his terrain is better and he has better movement. If the Age 1 had better movement and terrain, he'd probably be better, but I think this guy is a pretty good jack of all trades. Also has these attack buffs, but like I said, I don't really like the HP requirement below. I like it to be higher, high instead of below, because you never know, you might get one-shotted. So yeah, good on paper. He seems solid enough. And we will move on to the next one, which is the H2 normal, the free-to-play SSR. You could argue he might be higher because he has some really good, well, not like insanely good, but good tags, specializing in unstoppable, rearm, decent terrain, but remember he can transform. Not the best, but he'll be good for atmospheric, I guess, if you want to use him there. Decent defense, not crazy. Beam Saber, 1 range, SP attack. Kind of weird that they put this on a defense. It's not going to do crazy damage because his attack stat is decent, but it's an option, I guess. And then the darts rifle, which is decreased beam weapon power by 30%. Solid enough. He also has HP get 10%, defense 5%, when figured max or higher, increase attack by 10%. Not really needed, but it's there, I guess. I would have preferred defense 10% or something. He also has this shield defense, and like I say, he can transform, so he's versatile. He has his uses. Probably one of the better defenders and free-to-play defenders in the age, all the age suits, so he is definitely an option. Solid defender. Next up is the Gundam. That is what it is called, the Gundam. Honestly, surprised they added this. I don't remember it ever being in an SD game ever, from my knowledge at least, but he is there. He also has a really cool animation in game. Not a lot of tags, a one-shot killer and ace unit are really good tags, so you can use them there. Decent terrain, 5 movement, good attack. He's basically just the Adele Striker, but slightly better because increased critical damage by 35%. You obviously want to use him with a character that increases critical. I don't think he has his own dedicated pilot. I think that's the only thing holding him back. You either need to use the H1 UR pilot Flint to really get his damage up, or the chick I just talked about, the one that comes with the Adele Striker. I think those are probably his best pilots. If there was a one that, you know, had a critical up, I think he would do really well with that, but unfortunately he doesn't. You're gonna have to use like Shin or Mikazuki to really get that critical buff, so there is options there. But yeah, he seems very solid. Increase attack by 10%, another critical damage. Obviously you want this guy to critical, that is his whole gimmick, and he'll do good if he can do it, but if he can't, then he's kind of just the Adele Striker then. But seems very solid. It's just that his tags, not a lot of them, but he'll be very solid with a good attacker pilot. Next up is the S tier. Oops, spoiled the S plus, but next up is the Kronos SSR free to play. Kronos SR free to play is definitely one of the highlights of these free to play units. His SSP is honestly pretty good. We'll talk about that in another video though. Rivals, special IQ and lightning fast, not bad teams, good terrain, good movement, decent attack. Kronos gun, that is an option. Remote control system, damage taken from special weapons up 25%, 1 to 4 range without no restriction is pretty solid, good attack. And then the Kronos cannon, which is 5 to 3 range, inflict defense dealt 25% on the enemy, always nice to have. Decent attack, so he basically has 2 options to debuff the enemy, which is always nice, with really good range. So very solid unit, a lot of mobility too when the enemy, all with some damage reduction, so very solid, very good unit. His SSP is honestly one of the better SSPs, but like I said, we'll talk about it in another video. So yeah, very solid. If you just plan to only SP him, I would recommend it. If you need like a good rival debuffer or specialized lightning fast, because he does have 2 options with decent range. So there is that. Next up is the H2 Double the Bullet Tour. He's a super pilot toy if you watch the series. Very good tag, a lot of tags, one-shot killer, rearm, specialized unit. He has a lot of options. Decent terrain, 5 movement, very good attack. Well, decent attack. He can also transform too, so keep that in mind. He has the calf missile 2 to 4 range, so there is an option there if you transform it. He has really good passes, attack 10%, defense 5%, and then the restriction I love, when HP is 75% or above, 15%, so he's basically getting 25% right off the bat. Very nice. He also has a map attack, but it's only a straight line, but it is an option, I suppose, if you need it for like G-Generation Tower, whatever it's called. You need like those gimmick map attacks. He has one. Twin beam sword, only 1 to 2 range, decent. Hyper dodge rifle, 1 to 3 range, not 4 like the other ones. Decent attack, close to the enemy, and greater weapon. Attack power, decent enough. And then probably his best attack, the twin dodge cannon. You would think this guy's a melee unit, but nope, this is what you want to be doing. Twin dodge can, 2 to 4 range. I mean, he still can be, of course, not like it's a big difference, but you know, he has 2 really good options. Further you are from the enemy, greater attack power up to 15%. So you want to be using this as far away as you can, and it will do really good damage. This guy is just really good for damage. He can also transform too if needed, if you want to use him on atmospheric map. So he has a lot of options. Really good terrain, really good movement, really good damage potential. I can see why he's always like in every Eternal video. I mean, Eternal, the Age expert mode and all that. Next up is the Age 1 double jacket. I believe that's what it's called. Something jacket. What's it called? Assault jacket. This guy, really solid. You could SP if you wanted to. It would be a pretty good option. Tough as nails, ace unit, rearm and all that. 5 movement, decent defense. But I think it's his skills and the weapons that really do him justice. He has a free grid map attack with a decreased beam weapon power by 20%. Solid. Beam Vulcans, their twin dots rifle is an option. It does decent damage, but he's a defender, so he has a dot launcher, which is probably his main weapon that makes him so high up here. 3 to 4 range, inflict attack down 30% on the enemy, but it is a preemptive strike, which means he will always go first if he's getting attacked or supporting counter attack and all that. Really solid to have a 3 to 4 range and then a 30% attack down, so before they can even attack. So that is really good to have. Probably what makes him so high up here in a lot of people's opinions, and I can see why. Defense by 10%, max HP by 5%, and improved decreased attack effect level 1 when vigor is supercharged or higher. Improved decreased attack weapon effects by 5%. Additively, whatever, but as an option, so you could slap him with the free-to-play what's the main character's name, the blue-haired kid. He has an MP up, so slap him on this, put the dots launcher, and that's basically 35% attack down. Really solid, really good. I would not blame you if you wanted to SP this unit. I think he's worth the coins because he seems very solid on paper. That was the assault jacket. Next up is the flat Age 1 from the 2nd season. Kind of forgot this guy existed, but decent tags. Commander type is free to play, so good terrain, good movement. Also comes with a pilot. He's solid, pretty solid, but not like crazy. But it's always nice to have more pilots, and his suit is just pretty decent too. Also contender for SP coins if you get him due. Problem is he's a gacha unit, so keep that in mind. Beam saber, dots rifle 1 to 3, increase inflict defense down 25% on the enemy, solid, with 4,500 damage. And then the Zephyr launcher, which is 5 range, always nice to have, is 5,160 attack, pretty good, and special weapons up 25%. So he's a double debuffer. He has options, very solid overall, very good. You could argue maybe Kronos is slightly better at doing his job, but I think the Flat just has better teams. So he also has, when enemies are from specified tag, increase on attack and defense by 15%. My boy really hates those vegans. I like how they kept that. But yeah, if you're using him for like age maps, he'll be really good. Very solid supporter, debuffer. But like I said, problem is he is a gacha unit, so if you didn't get him, you know, hope you get him later down the line, whenever that happens. But very, very good unit. You could SP him. I'm not sure about SSP. We'll talk about it in another video, but he is very solid. Next up, probably the second best unit. Of course, the URs will be higher. It's just the way it is, but they're very good. So next up is the Age 1 EX. Decent tags, tough as nails, good terrain, good movement, very high attack at max. Also comes with a pilot, has a map attack that does really high damage. The Spallo, the Titus, they all do really good damage, just that the range is a little bit meh. And then 7,320 attack on the range. I mean, attack, EX attack, closely or the enemy increases up to 17%. So this guy's gonna hit hard. He's gonna hit very, very hard if you have him even more duped up. It's just that his main problem is his range. He doesn't have any other way to get there if he can't hit the enemy. He has a dodge rifle, but it won't do as much damage, but is another very good option. He's going to hit very hard like a truck, and it shows. Attack 15%, increase on attack by 20% when countering, so I guess you could throw duo there if you really wanted to. You could do that. Also, just in general, you know, 20% when he gets attacked. And then defense by 5%, which is alright. Maybe it will help him, but not a lot. But yeah, very high damage dealer. He also has his UR unit, Flit. Very high melee damage. It's obvious what he wants to do. He wants to get in close and he wants to hit hard. Melee boost level 4 by 20%. High speed, which will help his range problem. And then sway is always nice to have. It's just that you gotta choose either the damage to get there or not. Depends on the map. He also has mostly damage buffs. He also has a very unique thing here where when piloting a unit with a condition tag, increase on attack by 3%. For each squad unit bearing the condition tag, up to 15%. Ooh, burp. So he wants to be paired up with H system units. You know, like, this counts for units too, I believe. And I don't think pilots count as H system. Yeah, it's only the unit. So you want to pair him up probably with his best friend, the Flat here, I believe. I think Flat is like, Flat is what's his EX attack? EX attack is special, and the Flat's 5 range attack reduces debuff special defense. So yeah, Flat is basically his best friend. If you pair them up together, they will do some very good work together. So yeah, very solid, high damage, decent pilot. You could argue that he only has one chance step, but with more harder maps and all that, higher HP enemies, I think having a more bigger damage dealer is kind of important than a chance step, and this guy is going to hit hard. So you could argue that, but he's a very good UR unit, at least when he's piloting with H system. He's kind of restricted to that too, again, along with our Federation Forces Age. So you could argue he's very restricted to his old series, but when he's with his series, he will do work. That is for sure. That's the age 1. Very solid damage dealer. His whole gimmick is doing damage. And now for the coup de grace, the final unit, the age 2 EX. You could argue this is the best support unit in the game at the moment. At least for now, until anniversary in like a month from now. But really good terrain, decent tags, specialized unit, lightning fast and all that. Good attack for a supporter, good mobility, comes with his pilot, has a map attack. Twin beam sword is there, SP attack is there if you needed it, good damage. Hyper dots rifle, 5 range attack is always nice, 25% down. And then his main weapon is what you're going to be using. H system EX, 5 range, absolute hit. Damage taken from B weapons up 35%, always nice to have. Mobility 15%. Enemies are from specified tags, increase on attack and defense by 20%. New type. Does that mean he's good against new types, or he is a new type? Because new types don't exist in Age. I think that is against new types, and that makes him pretty damn versatile. So he also has advantage X rounder, increase max HP or 5% when enemies are from specified tags, increase on attack and defense by 20%. So he's gonna do pretty good. Increase max. I think the tags is X rounder, which isn't a lot when you're fighting against them, but it's a pretty good buff in Age Eternal Road. So really good buff. He's gonna do some pretty good numbers over there. But yeah, he has a really solid debuff and all that. Good options. His pilot is also very good. Good melee and good range. That's some crazy high numbers. His awaken is kind of doo-doo though, but those are insanely high numbers for both of them. That's crazy. Also has MP up level 5. You'll need to use it twice. Attack burst level 5 and energy charge by 60%. He has so many options. It's crazy. It's really good. He also gets 25% when supporting. Increase own range and melee by 25%. That's why it's so high. Earth Federation forces when piloting units. He gets a MP5 just right off the bat, so you only need to use this once and you're almost there at that point. And then when piloting Gundam H2, no more EX, vigorous supercharge, higher support attack counter 1 time, and increase beam damage taken weapon by 5%. So technically his EX attack will be 40% beam damage reduction. I mean debuff. That's crazy. I think he's the only. Does Green Corn do that? Greenicorn? I believe he does. You could argue this guy's better than Green Corn now with this pilot. If you don't know what I'm talking about Unicorn Awaken, the green one. The only problem is this guy's very restricted. Very restricted to our Federation Forces Age. So yeah, pretty much restricted to his own unit, but he is incredibly solid, probably the best beam debuffer in the game, and maybe in general, again, because he has very high dum-dum stats, very good, very solid. He's in his own league. Like I said, you could argue he's probably the best defender in the game. He's just that good, and like I said, really good terrain and all that. That's why he gets his own tier. He's S+ tier. Probably the only reason why people would summon on this banner before anniversary, just because this guy is insanely good. But yeah, that is everything, I believe. I don't think I missed one. That guy's just there because I don't know how to get him out. But yeah, I believe that is everything. Not sure how people will feel about it. I think I did an alright job here. Like I said, it's mostly on paper, only SP or lower, not SSP. That will be its own separate video. How long is this video? I think it's been like an hour. But yeah, that is my own opinion about the unit. Tell me if I'm wrong, dumb, and all that. Like I said, every unit has its use in this game. The Japanese players, whatever, have shown me that pretty much any unit is usable as long as you got the resources to level them up. So, or not even level them up, just throw them out there and find a way to make them useful. But it's just my own opinion, reading on paper and all that. But yeah, that is about it. Tell me what you think and all that, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.